Welcome back. Here we are getting started again. So what I'm doing here is sanding the back of this body kit with 80 grit. I'm shaping some of the corners here to get a tighter flush finish and fit on our car there. So I just need to sand down that corner a little bit more. And we're also cutting out the bottom. We're notching the bottom bolt areas for the fender. If you see what I'm doing here, I have to cut some of the body kit right in there, so when we bolt it up, our fender bolts are not going to hit. You can see that I'm going to cut it out, and once we put it in, I wanted to notch it. I didn't want to bolt it with the fender. I wanted to notch it out like that so we could just have our fender bolts. Alright, so now what I'm doing is wiping everything down with wax and grease remover. Okay. Wiping the back. We blew everything down really good with the air chuck at first. Now we're wiping everything down because we are going to use our panel bond and bond this body kit on. Right, we already dry fitted it. It has a couple of screw holes in there. What I wanted to do was mold it in. So here's the stuff they supplied me with, the body kit company. Right, so I'm going to put this on the back of our kit here, and I'm going to fuse it onto the body and then screw it in tight and let it dry. A little bit more panel bond in there. It looked like it needed a little bit more. Then I'm going to push it in really tightly. We have our holes all aligned, right? Our holes are already there for a good fitment. I have to make sure I get it in the same hole there. Push it up a little bit more and snug it in really tight. Now once we have some of that stuff sanded out, I'm going to use my good epoxy, the stuff that I really like. So that's all we're doing. We're using a little, like an ice cream spoon here, it looks like, but it's actually a paint stick. Right, and we're just pushing our epoxy into our seam here, and we're going to do a nice finger mold here. We're not going to completely get rid of that line. In that little section where it was a little too deep, all I did was mix a little bit of body filler and put a skin on it. And you can see now that I'm sanding that skin flat with my DA with 80 grit paper on it. All right, so we're hitting all of our final body work with 80 grit. And with the polyester putty that we're using, we could prime right over 80 grit. Now you can see that a couple of little pinholes there, right? That will just mix a little bit of filler up and just fill those up really quickly. Not a big deal. All right, everything's looking pretty good now. Now I'm using a 320 to just go over everything, just smoothing it out a little bit more. And then we're gonna blow everything down, wax and grease, remove everything down. You wanna make sure it's nice and clean before you start laying your primer, right? With my 320 grit, but I like, it's not that smooth. All right, so we got our polyester filler primer here. So we're mixing our mixture here. I think it's like 3 ounces per quart of hardener, 3 or 4 ounces of hardener per quart mixture. So I'm testing out the new gun that I got here, and the tip was actually too small and it started spraying a little dry. Alright, this is our last coat. I'm pretty sure this was my 3rd coat here. Just going over the car one last time, getting all the bodywork areas really well. Putting a nice thick coat of our primer on there. And after this, we're good to go. Alright, we'll let that cure. I let it cure for a day. Next day, hit it with 400. And we're in the home stretch, ready to paint. So you want to make sure to clean your guns out right after you spray this stuff. You do not want to leave your gun sitting around with this polyester putty because it gets hard. But I ended up getting it out. It's just the primer was so thick and it started setting up so quick. Then we'll come back tomorrow, assess the bodywork, sand everything down, get it nice and clean, and we're in the home stretch for painting. So I'll see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.